During gang stalking, you are stuck in a perpetual state of confusion. The target is gaslighted to such an extreme that remembering things becomes increasingly difficult for the mere reason that people are continuously harassing you, or your perceptions have been twisted so hard that you helplessly perceive the world around you as threatening, which leads to a state of paranoia. And your mind is continuously stuck thinking about gang stalking. During my gang stalking experience, day in and day out, I was always formulating ways to manage my gang stalking operation. I was always trying to find loopholes. I was always trying to find mind management techniques that would allow me to escape the psychological prison of gang stalking, which is why throughout the 7 years, I made countless of reminders. In this video, I'm going to share with you my developed strategies that even though I wrote them down, I actually, from one day to the other, I forgot that I had that strategy. I wasn't able to maintain strategic continuance in my patterns of thoughts because gang stalking is so strong and it is so engulfing of your mind that it usurps your mind and it doesn't allow you to have thoughts of your own. So I'm going to start with the first one. It says, the moment that you know that everyone is a gang stalker and you're focusing on the gang stalking signals, you're connected. Never accept that everyone is a gang stalker. Keep thoughts of gang stalking away from your mind. Most people are not gang stalking. Most people are not gang stalking stalkers. By that I meant most people are not gang stalkers. So here it is. It's the first one that you see. So when I wrote this, I still wasn't fully versed in connection. I didn't have the clarity of thought that I have now. However, I didn't know that something happened in my mind. I got gang stalked for so long that I was able to feel the transition of my current reality to the gang stalking reality. Something clicks in your mind where the gang stalking narrative becomes a reality. That's what they call connection. It is a psychological indoctrination that happens. I went in and out of this so many times that I learned how to feel it. Like I felt when the gang stalking became my reality. And gang stalkers can see this. They can see this. Like I have seen people just try to get my mind tired when I was working at the O'Reilly Auto Parts. And when I got connected, I remember I saw them doing like that. And it was insane. Like I saw this happening. And this happens by just making your mind tired. A lot, asking you a lot of questions, asking you questions, and then your mind gets so tired that it accepts the gang stalking narrative as if it was truth. And when that snapping happens, you're living in a completely different reality. Gang stalking is a psychological manipulation that literally alters your perception of reality. And the gang stalking aim is to continuously maintain it so that you always believe, or you are made to believe as much as possible, that everyone is a gang stalker. There is something in your head that clicks. It is literally an indoctrination. So that is what connection is when your perception of reality is turned. So when I would begin seeing the gang stalking signals, that's when it was, damn it, I'm already connected. But I felt it, like I began to feel this, and the entire time was like, I need to get out of this. How do I get disconnected from this? That was a puzzle for me. Gang stalking for me was a puzzle. It was a psychological challenge, which is why I was able to obtain the skill of controlling every aspect of my mind. Like gang stalking does something to your mind where your mind makes decisions, says things, thinks things without your permission. So like it kind of unsticks your mind from you. And and then gang stalkers controlling via hand signals, via facial expressions. It is something that gets really complicated, but is literal mind control. And it only works when you are connected. When you're connected, your mind is never truly yours. You are stuck in a psychological prison, and your mind is surrounding your consciousness with thoughts of gang stalking. And whenever you try to think of something else, boom, you're gonna feel a sensation that brings your mind back to thoughts of gang stalking. It's something insane to explain, but it's the truth. I lived it for 7 years. The thing is that when you're gang stalked, you're not aware of the prison because you don't know. It has no shape. We'll talk about that in another video. If you're learning about gang stalking just now, my name is Efren Rodriguez. I was gang stalked for 7 years. I lived in my car for like 4 years. I lived in a homeless shelter in the entire time. From the time that I was 32, I have been gang stalked. Tima. And during all that time of gang stalking, I learned how to control my mind in a way that I had never learned before. And at the very end of my gang stalking operation, I learned how to finally get disconnected. Like, I have the answer of how to stay away at gang stalking. I learned that. That was my mission. How to get to the point of mental prowess that I am able to stay out of the gang stalking operation. And I need to share this information. I need to. So subscribe, because my goal is to spread awareness of gang stalking and to help people live their lives better while spreading awareness of gang stalking. Gang stalking is something that has destroyed many lives. It has literally made people crazy. That is the goal of gang stalking. Confuse someone so profoundly that they are living continuously in another reality. Now, the second reminder, it says, interrupt every gang stalking thought with a thought and inner dialogue of the word nonsense. Any thought, sound, or anything that you consider gang stalking related is trivial, meaningless, or nonsense. So when I was getting gang stalked, gang stalkers used to make the mocking face, the duper's delight. And they typically did that when they saw that I had a misfortune. Like when I lost something, they would do that. And that implies that they had something to do with it. So I realized that making those assumptions wasn't healthy because it perpetuated the gang stalking narrative forward. I was trained to assume that gang stalkers had something to do with my misfortunes because for many, many years, they had something to do with my misfortunes. And every time a misfortune happened that they caused, they did this. So what happens is that you are trained to make an assumption that gang stalking had to do with anything wrong that happened to me. When I learned this, I had to replace the thoughts. I called it thought re-indexing, where you replace one thought where another thought is at. So whenever I saw that duper's delight, instead of thinking that gang stalker has something to do with me losing my charger, I replaced that thought with nonsense. So as soon as I saw the cue for the thought, which was the gang stalking signal, the gang stalking grin. If you do not know what the gang stalking grin, check my videos and my channel. It is called the gang stalking grin. I have made several videos about it. So whenever I saw the gang stalking grin, I retrained my mind to think nonsense. That has nothing to do with gang stalking. Gang stalkers didn't do anything. And the possibility that they have something to do with what happened to me was there. In many cases it was. But I made a decision to re-indoctrinate myself that gang stalkers had nothing to do with my misfortunes. And when I did that, by replacing, gang stalkers have something to do with that, whenever I would see the gang stalking grin, that thought actually allowed me to see more clear. That note, I didn't have to read it a lot, but I implemented it relentlessly as soon as I wrote it because it disconnected me from most of the gang stalking narrative. It disconnected me. That was one of the first things that actually had a very good effect on the gang stalking operation. So whenever you stop assuming that every misfortune is caused by gang stalkers, you are breaking away the illusion and you can see more clearly. So when that happens, you will be able to see if gang stalkers had to do anything with it because you can think more logically. You are not thinking out of fear. You are not thinking out of the gang stalking indoctrination. You are thinking out of logic because your first assumption is the most probable assumption that gang stalkers had nothing to do with it. The thing is that when you're getting gang stalked, for many years, gang stalkers did have a lot to do with all your misfortunes. So you are trained, your mind is trained to fill in the gaps of your misfortunes with actions of gangstalker. It makes more sense to your mind, so you have to undo that. And you have to undo that by re-indexing the thoughts, by retraining your mind to think of other possibilities other than gangstalking whenever you have a misfortune. Whenever I would see the gangstalking signal, I was trained for many years to think of this as a signal from gangstalkers because I was harassed day in, day out by Efren Rivero, by Oscar Ledesma, by Alexis Ayala, by even the loss prevention guy at O'Reilly Auto Parts. I forgot his name, but even he was a part of it. And even by Tavo, by the current district manager of the district in San Diego of O'Reilly Auto Parts. He is in on it too. The previous district manager too. And most of the gym goers at the gym Chula Vista, it's the gym, TG the gym, they were also in on it. So it was a big up. My operation was huge. So hundreds of people, literally, like at least 100 people, every day would do this to me. Wherever I looked, that was their gang stalking signal. And then they would do the evil grin every time. So whenever I would see this, I was trained to think that was on purpose. That was a gang stalker. That person is harassing me. This movement used to create a physiological sensation of anguish because for many years, whenever I would be working out, I was interrupted relentlessly whenever I was trying to focus on working out. And you cannot help it but get upset. But people were actively trying to mess me up via the hand signals. They wanted to interrupt me like that. Whenever I would be in the shower at the homeless shelter, people would walk, gangstalkers would walk by. When I was trying to be like in the shower, they would be like, I swear to God, there was surveillance on me by a bunch of people. And that is the truth. Now, it's impossible to believe. If you think that I'm crazy, I don't care. You're not my target audience. But what I'm saying is real. The reason that I'm working so hard to show you that I'm actually well in the head is to demonstrate that this stuff is real. And a gang stalker, Liliana Juarez, who is the owner of Café Amor and the owner of XOXO in Rancho San Diego and the owner of Extraordinary Fruits in San Diego, California, was also a gang stalker. She is the one that told me, right now we are sensitizing you to the color. And if you tell anyone, no one is going to believe you. I heard her tell that to me. And gang stalking isn't supposed to make sense because I was her personal trainer. She was paying me while this was happening. But there's where it gets more complicated because gang stalkers are supposed to be confusing. They will tell you, oh, I'm your friend. Why? So that they have access to you. But they are underhandedly trying to F you in the A. Because if you're not their friend, they can't drive you crazy. It's easy for these people to pretend that they care about you. It is. Because these people are not normal. Now, so whenever this happened, I told myself, I began saying, oh, wait, let me go back. So because I was harassed by this for so long, I would automatically assume whenever I will see that. And when you are connected, whenever someone does that just via normal movement, you will interpret it and see it. Like your eyes will play tricks on you. You will see it being a gang stalking signal. Like there will not be a difference between this purposefully and just a casual wave of the hand. You will not be able to see any difference. It will literally be indistinguishable. So whenever I will see that, I had to retrain my mind to think that was just a hand wave. Even when it was obviously a gang stalking signal, it was healthier for me to not assume so. It just was. So that disconnected my physiological sensation of anguish to this. Like that's how I disconnected from the physiological sensation, because that turns into a remote control to your body. Like when you see that, you feel anguish and you feel the pain. That's how they began controlling your mind. Now, the banging, that had a negative physiological sensation too. Whenever someone was rude to me and I had a negative emotion, they did that. And they did that for like 1,000 hours, for like 2 years. 8 hours a day, every day at the O'Reilly Auto Parts on Imperial Beach. The customers, my coworkers, they were rude to me. And every time that I would feel a negative emotion, they would bang at them. And guess what? So that becomes synonymous with a negative emotion. So whenever anyone will do that, my body will have a physiological reaction to that. And my coworkers were doing that on purpose too, all the time. Because that literally became a remote to my emotions. But it took hundreds of hours of training for that to happen. If any of you gangstalkers are watching this, fuck you. I hope you die. And this is not slandering, because everything that I'm saying is the truth. I can point at the faces of who harassed me any day, and I can recall exactly how. So I'm not scared of any type of lawsuit or anything. Hell no. On the contrary, bring it on. So by retraining my mind to think of nonsense whenever I would hear that, when I say that's nothing, whenever I would see this, or finger bang your PUSSY whenever they would go, actually, I'm gonna tell you this thing. So whenever someone would go like that, I would train myself to think, oh, was the COCK, was the male chicken too big for your throat? And whenever they would go, I would imagine them just doing lines of cocaine. That helped a lot. So all of that made it, to me, into a comedy show. That disconnected me. So like, day by day, I was slowly disconnecting my mind from the entire gangstalking narrative. And that was one of the reminders. So my next reminder there is the following. It says, keep your consciousness focused on your throat. And when you think, make sure you think through your throat. The voices are you. That's weird, I know. So that is very confusing. And when this happened, I was in a deep state of confusion. So my mind was so disconnected from my consciousness that it had a life of their own. I literally lost control of my mind. When you lose control of your mind is very susceptible to manipulation. And it wasn't until I learned the structure of the mind, like the actual body of the mind and how to control it, that I was able to stop this. So I have no idea why I said that, actually. This is actually, I'm confused. Keep your consciousness focused on your throat. When you think, make sure to think through your throat. So I'm not sure exactly what I meant by that. I'm unsure. But that in itself shows you to what state of confusion that I was. So thinking with your throat, it's like, I remember that I was also being able to think with my ears. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Let's start there. So whenever you think, if you pay attention to your ears and you think, like if you think candy and you focus your consciousness on your ears, you feel the vibration. Like you feel that how your ears move with every word that you say. If I keep my consciousness in my throat, my focus is on my throat, I'm thinking with my throat because my focus is there. So this is when I was really learning how to tie my mind back to me. So that would need an entire video with a lot of illustrations. But during gangstalking, you become so disassociated with your mind that your mind starts talking without your permission. Literally, you will be hanging out and your mind will just be talking shit to you. That's what gangstalking does. It disassociates your mind from you. So when you hear voices, it's because your mind you are having conversations with your mind, but your mind is no longer tied to your consciousness. It is a separation. This is why most people think, oh, I am angry or I am sad. But in reality, it is my mind is producing emotions of sadness. I'm still disconnected from my mind, but I have the grips on it like never before because I learned how my mind is connected to my body and how my imagination is connected to my mind and how my mind and imagination is connected to my consciousness. That is a complete different topic we're gonna cover in another video, but I promise to you that I will teach you how to get grips on your mind like you have never before. So this is the next one. It says, immediately after having a lot in your head, change language. So my mind only spoke Spanish to me and only talked back to me in Spanish. So I realized that by thinking actively in English, my mind wouldn't talk back to me. It wouldn't because my mind spoke in Spanish. But if I would be thinking in English, that would somehow block the thoughts that my mind would produce without my permission from manifesting. So I could actually think in English and then my mind would behave. And when I discovered this, I was so confused by the gang stalking that I didn't continue thinking in English, even though this was like one of the best ways to make my mind cooperate with me. That was the way that I could actually steer my mind, is to think only in one language. Because if you think in a language and you only accept, like my consciousness only accepted thoughts in English, therefore my mind would actually not speak to me if I was only thinking in English. It was the weirdest thing ever. But if you're getting gang stalked, just think in another language and only accept thoughts in English. If your mind talks Spanish, and your mind will mellow out. Gang stalking was so intense that my mind would be quiet, because the mind can only keep one thought at a time. And if you're keeping an image, if you're holding an image in your mind and you're focusing on the image, your mind cannot produce a vocalized thought. So whenever I was getting gang stalked, I would keep stamped on my mind's eye, excellence or amazing. And I would just hold that image. And that technique was like adding a new stream of consciousness. And by thinking in letters, I was able to control my mind again. By thinking in letters. I have lost practice because it is not necessary, but I was there with a book, and every word that I was looking at, I made sure to look to a side and then just visualize every letter impeccably. I practiced that, and the moment I began practicing that, I began to be able to control my thoughts 100%. It just worked. When that happened, I was able to control my mind again. Thinking in letters saved my mind. And it's hard in the beginning. It really is hard. And I learned a way of going around that. So I learned how to think like if I was air typing, because I'm a fast typer. And if I wanted to think without my mind interfering, I would just have like a visual. I would just type with my mind, with the movement of my fingers. And that would keep my mind centered, because it encompassed my visual cortex and it would encompass my body. And that blocked completely the entire gang stalking narrative. It blocked it. Those techniques would free my mind from gang stalking. Next is visualize what you want obsessively. So I wrote this at the very end of my gang stalking operation. And that is because I learned that the one that was in control of the entire gang stalking operation was it was me. So by imposing things that I want into my mind, instead of thinking about gang stalking, I knew that I would come back to normal. Why? Because before, I allowed the world around me to dictate what I would be thinking about. But if I force like the image of the Mercedes van that I want, the image of all the success of my YouTube channel, which you should subscribe, by the way. In this channel, I promise you, I will teach you how to control your mind in a way that will lead you away from gang stalking. Not only that, but I will teach you a lot of dark psychology tricks that you can actually use to benefit your mind. I promise to you, if you want to really control your mind, this is the channel that you should follow, that you should subscribe to. I promise you that. So instead of being focused on gang stalking, if I want to be focused on the things that I want to do with my life, I knew that the gang stalking narrative would lose importance. So before, was gang stalking, and this was my goal. So like that's how, if you quantify it, like from this, actually. So like my mind was like this. GS stands for gang stalking, and the goals stand for goals. So that's how my mind was. But if I would think of goals more and of gang stalking a little bit, like that. So there it says, I know, so there it says goals, and then it says GS for gang stalking. If I would do that actively, I knew that I could retrain my mind to think of something that would benefit me. So purposely, I bombarded my mind with images of things that I love. Like I began obsessively watching runway shows. I began thinking of money, of success. I invested myself more on my YouTube channel. And whenever I wasn't doing anything, whenever a thought of gang stalking would come into my mind, I would just bombard a lot of like beautiful things. And I would just bombard my mind's eye with beautiful things, a lot of them. And I would just flash a lot of images, like if I was hypnotizing myself to think of beautiful things. And let me tell you, it worked. I still do that to this day. Whenever I'm walking, I think, squeeze your abs, or squeeze your fat rules. I think of myself sprinting, working out. I keep an image of the word excellence on my mind as much as possible. And that is retraining my mind to think of excellence before I think of gang stalking. So it is a slow retraining of my thought pattern. When I began doing that, my life began changing. And then the last one that is here says, recuerda que todas las voces están en tu cabeza. Son parte de ti. Solamente te pertenecen a ti y nadie más. And that means it says, remember that all the voices that are in your head are part of you. They're only yours and they belong to you. This is the time that I learned that the voice. When did I make that reminder? So that reminder was in November of last year. So by the very end of my gang stalking, I was able to control the voices. And I was able to control the voices because I learned how to control my spirit or my mind, or the spirit aspect of my mind, which I will explain to you later. I'm not sure how to explain it to you, but I will. I promise you that. But I would have not been able to leave gang stalking if it wasn't for me learning exactly the structure of my mind. I have so much insight into the mind, you guys, and I cannot wait to share it with you. Oh, and this one. It says, say affirmations all day. It says, say affirmations all day. And it says, this is going to sound weird, but this is going to make me like this is going to make me sound like I am full of myself, but I'm not. I kind of have to be a little bit, but I don't look down on people. I don't. Unless they're gang stalkers. Only they're gang stalkers. That's it. But to me, all people are equal except those people that are trying to hurt me. So it says, I'm always flexing. I always stick to my diet and 1 million subscribers by the end of the year. That's what it says. So affirmations changed a lot my situation. Why? Because I was retraining my mind to say good things to me instead of perpetuating the gang stalking narrative. So I was literally retraining my mind to tell me things that I wanted to hear. So I was resynchronizing my mind to me instead of gang stalker. So my next reminder on my list of reminders says the following. So I went on a run and I went to do my live workout, and immediately after I was done, I came here to finish the video. So I am in my workout clothes. So I'm sorry for that. I'm sweaty, but I'm really excited about this video, which is why I'm still doing my workout clothes. I'm still trying to figure out the light. Like, it's so crazy. I have not used like a light like this in forever. That's better, huh? I think that's better. Let me try another color. I just don't want to look all dead. No, that one's better. So I'm just gonna keep this one. If there's any color of the light that you feel like would help, that because if you have more knowledge about using lights in recording, please let me know, because I have absolutely no idea. I have never used lighting other than like here. So please let me know if there's any secret. Also, I want to remind you to subscribe. In this channel, we're going to talk about gang stalking. We talk about fitness. I'm not sure if you can tell, but like I have lost like 10 pounds, dude. Since the last one that I did these, where I talked to you guys about gang stalking, like I have lost so much weight. Look, like I have tits now. I have chest now. I didn't have a chest in the earlier ones. So this is like my normal, but typically I look like, right now I'm looking skinny because I want to lose the fat and then I'm going to build up more muscle. But I want to lose the fat because I miss having my definition, and I don't want to have my fat rolls bouncing around whenever I'm walking. So FYI, judge me if you want. You might think that I have body dysmorphia. I might, but I don't care. It works for me. So anyways, the next reminder says the following. It says, don't try to make sense of anything. Remember, they are all doing things that make no sense to you. When you start having conspirational theories, you're connected. So this reminder I used to help me understand. So these reminders actually happened almost at the very end of my gang stalking operation. So at the very end of my gang stalking operation, I was less and less confused because I was understanding what gang stalking was about. And when you're trying to make sense of things, like, is that person harassing me on purpose? Why is that person doing that? Is that person a gang stalker? Is that why that car has the headlights on? So you get attacked with a bunch of things that don't make sense, that you're confused so much that you break your own mind down. When I wrote this, I knew that I was breaking down my own mind by questioning all these things. That's why your mind is racing all the time when you're getting gang stalked. So whenever all of these unknown are being thrown at you, those are actually ways to make you break your own mind down. And I've told you this before, this is one of the reasons why gang stalkers tell you, you know what you did. That's what you get for messing with the wrong person. To keep you wondering, who did I mess with? And it keeps you wondering, what did I do? And you keep breaking your own mind down. So they do that in war times when they have prisoners of war. Those are the techniques that are used in order to break the prisoners down. They tell you things that make no sense only so that you keep thinking about them, so that you break yourself down further. So whenever someone does this, like pretend there's a phone here, and a gang stalker is like this, like pointing their phone at you, your natural reaction is going to be, was that person recording me or was that person smiling at their phone? But they're typically going to be doing the gang stalking grin and they're going to pretend like they're recording you. They're going to be like, so then you're questioning, was that person recording me? Is that person laughing at their phone? If you are connected, you're going to be sure, you're going to know that that person was recording you. But this is done without intention to make you question, is that person recording me or is that person just looking at their phone? Or whenever someone goes like this in the car, you're going to be questioning, was that person just putting their seatbelt on or were they doing the gang stalking signal? That's why gang stalking signals are signals that can be easily confused, because that way you see the gang stalking signals everywhere and you're always questioning, is that person doing it on purpose or not? But that signal is going to be done so much that your mind is going to automatically assume that it was a signal of gang stalking activity. So the more you're wondering, is that a gang stalker? Is that person not a gang stalker? You are literally breaking your own mind down, which is why I wrote on the reminders, don't try to make sense of gang stalking. And that was the key, one of the bigger keys for me to actually being able to get out of gang stalking. Because one, gang stalkers, if they do this and you don't pay attention and don't think about it, it's gonna have no effect. When they do the gang stalking grin and you don't think about it, it's gonna have no effect. So your job as a target, if you wanna not be a target, is to ignore everything that has to do with gang stalking activity. In the beginning, you are not gonna be able to ignore it because you're gonna know it, because it's gonna be done on purpose and you're gonna know. But if you focus on that, on what they're doing, you're gonna indoctrinate yourself. So you have to literally learn how to see the gang stalking activity and not pay attention to it. If you don't pay attention to the gang stalking activity for too long, then you're gonna get sabotaged. That is when they're gonna steal something from you, because they are gonna do things to make sure that you pay attention to them. Like at the end, when I was just playing Bayonetta and I had applied all of these techniques, guess what? My Nintendo Switch was stolen. And that is when I thought to myself, okay, I had enough. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna stop talking to anything and anyone that has to do with the gang stalking narrative. And I'm gonna quit this job and I'm gonna focus on YouTube. And that's exactly what I have to do. I'm gonna focus on my fitness and on my career as a human being. And I'm gonna re-educate my mind on how to not think about gang stalking. So I cut all ties of everyone that has to do with gang stalking. I cut ties with everyone. Anything that perpetuates any type of behavior that will lead me into gang stalking, it's cut off. Completely, absolutely, utterly, and immediately. No ifs, buts, or whatever. No second thoughts put into that. Now, gang stalkers are not gonna touch you, but if you're not paying attention to them, they're gonna mess with your belongings. So if you're getting gang stalked, don't leave anything in your car or have a secret compartment somewhere. Gang stalkers get your attention by grabbing little things that are not worth you going to the police. For me, they stole one crock from my trunk on my BMW. They stole one crock from my trunk of my car. They're gonna do things like that just enough to tell you, we're watching you, we're messing with you, and you can't do anything about it. They stole a vacuum cleaner when my car got stolen. A car vacuum cleaner got stolen, dude. They're petty thefts. Like, they're not even good at stealing, because in that car I had jewelry that had diamonds, I had Versace medallions, I had a bunch of things that I kept hidden in the car. And But gang stalking is gonna make you vulnerable to theft. So if you're getting gang stalked, you have to immediately stop trying to meet new people. If you're getting gang stalked, you have to take drastic measures on your life. Now, the next one. Actually, that was it. So yeah, I hadn't made one of these videos in a while. So, well, yeah, that was it for gang stalking videos, for this gang stalking video. If you have any questions, concerns, opinions, please write them down in the comments in any of my videos. I check all my videos obsessively. I respond to every message that I get to the best of my ability. Also, I have received a couple of emails about people that were getting gang stalked, and we are going to go over those in another video. Please subscribe and share, because the purpose of this channel is to make every single psychological manipulation of gang stalking common knowledge. Gang stalking is only powerful because people don't understand what gang stalking is. But if there is a lot of content of gang stalking, which I am committed to do until my last day on earth, enough online that everyone knows how gang stalking takes place. What is the hand signal? What is the gang stalking grin? What are the methods of psychological manipulation? If everyone knows what those are, everyone is going to be able to prevent tragedy from happening into their life. Everyone is going to be able to be like, no, I know what you're doing, I know what you want, and no thanks. Now leave. As of now, I haven't been harassed, but I was being harassed on my live workouts a lot actually, but that already stopped because I've been muting people that have been trying to bring up gang stalking terminology, gang stalking trigger words. Also, I immediately block everyone that is mean to me in any way, shape, or form, like right away. I do not give benefit of the doubt to any type of negativity at the slightest in any platform. And I stay away from the primary gang stalking breeding grounds, which are pretty much Grindr and Sniffies. Like those are out. Any type of hookup website, anywhere where there is any type of substance abuse involved, that is out, completely out and done. For a while, I went to NA meetings and I was getting targeted even in those meetings by someone. I was. So when I was getting gang stalked in NA, his name is Rafael Panoni. He's a gang stalker. He was one of my gang stalkers. He was the one where I told him, don't message me anymore. And I told him on Facebook, no, via text message. I have the messages right here. It's right here. It says, hey there, this might come off as out of nowhere, but can you please stop messaging me? And then he said, okay, yes, I will delete your number. I deleted your number. Goodbye. And then he messaged me on WhatsApp with a bunch of pictures of his COCK and pictures of him naked. That is an attack. An attack on a boundary where you tell anyone, don't speak to me. And then they are still talking to you and sending you naked pictures of themselves. That is a gang stalking attack, because that person had the intent of poisoning my mind with ideas of engaging in behavior that will lead to self-destructive behavior. To see gang stalking, you have to see the entire pattern. You don't see gang stalking from one instance. Gang stalking is an attack made by many people that are designed or that are purposed to steer your life in a particular direction. But because they're all done by different people, you cannot really accuse anyone. Anyways, also, it is incredibly difficult to prove because it sounds like an impossibility. But I lived it, I survived, and I am absolutely coherent, and my cognitive abilities are better than ever. Now, thank you so much for stopping by. This is the Gang Stalking Playbook. My name is Efren Rodriguez, and please take care and guard your mind. Protect your mind at all costs from any type of poisonous thoughts or any poisonous behavior. Just guard it, because a single thought can lead you to destruction. How do you think people that are trying to stay off drugs suddenly have a relapse? That is because it all begins with one thought. Okay, so please protect your mind. And if anyone is trying to poison it, get rid of that person. Especially if you're getting gang stalked, anyone that's trying to confuse you is bad news. Anyone that is violating a boundary is bad news. Anyone that is bringing any type of negative emotion or confusion into your life is bad news. Block them immediately and never by any means unblock them, even if you will be alone for some time. But trust me, it is so much better to be alone than to be surrounded by people who are trying to actively destroy you. All right? Bye. Gangstalking.